I am so excited for today's video. We've got a little bit of a foundation showdown going on. We are going to be talking about the new Huda Beauty Easy Blur Foundation and the new Patrick Ta Major Skin Foundation. Now, these foundations could not be more different in packaging, in price point, in finish, in all of the things. So which one is really the best? Today, I'm going to be putting one on half of my face, one on the other. I've had these foundations for almost a week and have worn them each about 3 times. So we're going to get into all of my thoughts on both of these so that you can decide for yourself which, if either of these foundations you need. If you're new here, hi, my name's Molly. This is my new YouTube channel, The Beauty of It All. I'm a makeup artist, a Sephora employee, and all-around beauty lover. So if you're new here, I would love for you to subscribe if you haven't already, but let's get right into today because we got a lot to talk about. All right, so let's start off with the Huda Beauty Easy Blur Natural Airbrush Foundation. Now, this retails for $37. It comes in 29 shades, and it touts on the back of the packaging even the 1.5% niacinamide. So again, this is what the packaging looks like. The packaging is nothing special, like let's just call it what it is. I am okay with that though, because to have a foundation that is starting with a 3 in the price point range is really, really rare these days. So I see that Huda maybe sacrificed a little bit on like the allure of packaging, but brought that price down accordingly. And I think that's an incredibly smart move on her part. It is approachable. Like this is the price of like some skin tints, even less. Like I think the Summer Friday skin tint is like $42. So to get a medium to buildable full coverage foundation for $37 is incredible. The foundation is vegan and cruelty free. And like I mentioned, it comes in 29 shades. I have the shade Shortbread, and I've tried really hard not to like read or watch reviews on this so I can form my own opinion, but I have seen a couple of things that I agree with in regards to the shades, and I found it a little challenging to find my shade, I would say. Again, I have Shortbread, which is a cooler undertone. The next lightest cool undertone shade was like Casket. Like it was way too light on me. I could see in the dead of winter this shade is going to be maybe a little too dark, but it's really pretty. It's good for now. So I did end up grabbing this one. Huda released a new primer as well. I'll put a picture of it here. It's like the Easy Blur primer. I felt it when I went into store and it feels beautiful. It feels exactly like a silicone-based primer, but it's water-based, which is really interesting. It seems very innovative. But honestly, I just kind of felt like if the foundation does everything that it says it should, I shouldn't need the primer in theory. And I have like the e.l.f. Liquid Poreless Putty Primer if I really need that extra blur of the skin. But honestly, I just kind of wanted to test the foundation on its own to see how it pairs with my skin prep. On the other hand, we have the Patrick Ta, now this is a mouthful, the Major Skin Hydra Luxe Luminous Skin Perfecting Foundation. Dear God, these names are insane. But this is so beautiful. This is a bottle that like you put out on your counter because it is so beautiful, and it is reflected in the price as well. This is a very heavy weighted glass bottle. Obviously you have classic Patrick Ta embossing on the top. It's just all the luxurious things we would expect from Patrick Ta. This foundation is $58, so a big jump from the Huda Beauty Easy Blur foundation to the new Patrick Ta foundation. The Patrick Ta foundation comes in 30 shades. I have the shade 7 Peachy Neutral. This is maybe the best shade match I've ever had in a foundation. It has 3 different weights of hyaluronic acid as well as squalane. This is incredibly hydrating, incredibly luminous. It has like more of that skincare infused foundation vibe. Huda Beauty does not. This is like your standard foundation. The Patrick Ta foundation also has kombucha in it, which I haven't seen being called out as like an ingredient in foundation previously. It's said to just like give an extra smoothing effect to the skin and add more radiance. So I'm going to go ahead and swatch both of these on my hand for you guys. Again, I do find that the Patrick Ta foundation is a better shade match for me, but the Huda Beauty I can also make work too. Obviously the Patrick Ta, you can really see that peachy tone coming through, and then the Huda Beauty looks a little more like golden toned. The Patrick Ta, you'll notice, is a little more runny. I think that comes from maybe a little bit more of that hydration, but honestly the Huda Beauty, like the consistency of it is very reminiscent of a skin tint. I'm gonna go ahead and do the Huda Beauty on this side of my face. Now, from the time that I've had this foundation, what I've noticed is less is a little bit more. You don't need a lot. Like that, to me, the way it lays on the face, it looks like a skin tint, not a foundation. But to kind of build up the coverage and to kind of give you guys the effect, like a lot of people are testing the Huda Beauty with like only on one side of the face to show the comparison of the level of coverage. So that's what I'm gonna do today. I'm just gonna take a clean, more of a buffer brush and just kind of start working that into the skin. And you can already see the redness dissipating. And I mean, it really is like, this is probably the most full coverage foundation that I own at this point, but it literally feels like nothing on your skin. I've never felt anything like this before. Truly just the way that that covered up like redness, hyperpigmentation. I'm going to add a little bit more just so you can see the buildability of this. Not gonna add a lot more, but we're just gonna go in maybe with like that much. And just to show you again, the way that it builds so effortlessly. And that's what I mean by like, I don't feel like the primer is totally necessary. Now, if you don't have like a blurring primer already, might be worth it. I have one, and again, I just feel like the foundation itself, it does so much of the work for you. I mean, that's just crazy. I just don't feel like I have anything on my skin. I really don't. And what I've noticed in the few days of wearing this, it has, I don't want to say it's self-setting because it's not, but it feels like it sets a little bit more than other foundations that I've tried, and certainly more than the Patrick Ta foundation. Dang, that's just really pretty. And I don't know, I've not in the past gravitated towards full coverage foundations because they just feel so thick, they feel so heavy. This, to me, it feels like a skin tint with a medium to full coverage finish, which is wild. Okay, moving on to Patrick Ta. Now, Patrick definitely totes like the artistry way of applying this foundation is via underpainting. I'm obviously not doing that today. I do plan on posting a video on just like underpainting in general in the future. And so we'll talk about that more coming up here soon. But to be consistent, I'll just apply this directly to my face just so you guys can see the way that it spreads. But like, look at how much more runny that texture is. Like the Huda did not move when I put it on. I'm just gonna take a clean Mario brush and start blending this in. And again, I personally just feel like this is maybe a little bit better of a shade match, but they're both beautiful. Immediately you can tell, like as I'm even blending this out with the brush, it just has more of that, like there's a little bit more of a tug because of that extra hydration to it. Now, I have found that I don't like more with this Patrick Ta foundation doesn't necessarily equate to more coverage. Like, or if you do, I would go in with a second layer with a beauty blender and just kind of like stipple it into the skin. But it is very gorgeous. And I do find that like, although it is a hydrating foundation, it does dry down pretty well. I do most definitely still have to powder it, but I'll bring you guys in closer. This side of my face is much, much, much dewier than this side. You know, if you're incredibly oily, probably not gonna be the foundation for you. And same with the Huda, if you're incredibly dry, probably not the foundation for you. Right now, my skin feels very normal. I don't feel like I'm too oily. I don't feel like I'm too dry. Probably because we're like transitioning into fall, it's not quite as humid. So this is honestly a pretty good time for me to test out both of these. My skin isn't reacting too much one way or the other. I'll bring you guys in closer here just so you can see again, kind of the finish difference. Obviously there's a shade difference as well, trying to put that aside, but you can see like a little bit more of my skin peeking through the Patrick Ta. I am just going to, for fairness sake, just try and build this up a little bit. So I'm gonna take maybe just about a half a pump in the back of my hand, and then I'm just gonna take a beauty blender and kind of build that up where I feel like I need the coverage. Again, just primarily on the cheeks where I feel like I have a little bit of extra redness. So definitely still buildable. I feel like I can clearly tell that this is just truly more of a medium coverage. Whereas on this side with the Huda Beauty, this is definitely more of a medium to full coverage. I'm gonna quickly finish out the rest of my face. Just gonna go in with my Patrick Ta contour today and pop some of that in the cheekbones. as well as on the perimeter of the forehead. And then for blush, I'm really trying to use up the very last of my Charlotte Tilbury Glowgasm Beauty Light Wand in the shade Peach Gasm. This is just kind of a nice like highlighter blush combo for me. I don't feel like I have to wear a separate blush and highlighter, which I love. Concealer today is going to be the Dior Forever Skin Correct. This is in the shade 1CR. And then I am going to be setting my entire face with the Beauty Easy Bake Powder in the shade Cherry Blossom. I'm gonna go put a couple of finishing powders on from something that I'm actually testing right now. So I'm gonna go do that off camera, as well as put just a little bit of liner and mascara on, but I'll be right back after that. All right guys, finished the rest of my makeup, got some eyeliner, mascara, set the face, all of those things. And this is the final look with both of the foundations. Again, we have Huda Beauty on this side and Patrick Ta on this side. Personally, I love them both. If we're getting down to which one do I like better, overall, I think that the Huda Beauty is more innovative. I think it's really unique to the market, and I really respect the price range for the performance. I think that is like a standout quality of this one. I also love though the Patrick Ta. I think that if you are drawn to like luxurious packaging, if you like that glowy ethereal look, you would love this. Now, obviously, if you have incredibly oily skin, you're not going to gravitate towards this one. And if you have incredibly dry skin, you're not going to gravitate towards this one. In general though, I feel like Huda Beauty is a little more universal, because I don't feel like for a medium to full coverage foundation, I do not feel like this is drying. So in terms of what's like most unique to the market, I would say probably this one, honestly. Also, like in regards to the packaging, this one is fantastic for travel. No one is lugging around this Patrick Ta foundation, and if you are, I applaud you, you're very dedicated. But this one is so easy to toss in your makeup bag. It's portable, you can take it on the go, all of those things. So another consideration. I also will be curious to see, I could see for the right like skin type, this being really good in a makeup artist kit. And I say that because it's giving like the medium coverage that most people want when they're having their makeup done, but it's a skin like very thin consistency and texture, which is again just like pretty unique. Now the shades are maybe a little trickier in the Huda Beauty foundation. I find that the Patrick Ta shades are a little easier to match. They're maybe a little more flexible, I suppose is the word I'm looking for. So I think that Patrick Ta has a leg up on Huda in that regard. But overall, if I had to pick one foundation from this video of which do I feel like I'll be grabbing the most, which do I feel like is the most unique, which do I feel like is the most intriguing, surprisingly for me, it's the Huda Beauty Easy Blur foundation. I do like my shade match better in the Patrick Ta, but this is just really different for me. I don't have anything else like this in my foundation like collection, and I find myself very impressed with the longevity, the finish, the wear, all of those things. So I'm declaring Huda Beauty the winner of today's little showdown. That doesn't mean though that I don't think there's a place for the Patrick Ta foundation in my routine, and I will regularly be grabbing it because it's a beautiful, beautiful foundation. And again, my shade match, just like this is immaculate. I love it so much. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Which one are you drawn towards more? Have you tried either of them? If so, do you like them? Do you not like them? What are your thoughts? I'm super excited about both of these foundations. These will probably be the last foundations that I'm purchasing for the rest of the year, just because I really don't need any more. I'm gonna kind of cut myself off. So this was a really high note to end on for me. But again, let me know in the comments if you have questions on any of these, if you're struggling to decide which one you might want, let me know and we'll chat. But my name is Molly, and as always, thank you guys so much for joining me to talk about the beauty of it all. Bye everyone.